to the Healing Waters broadcast. We are so happy that you are here. I am your host, Marie Kennedy Groves. I am a life coach, a single mom, a glam mom. You know what? I have a lot of different hats that I wear, but I always say I have learned to love my life. And today, backed by popular demand, we are here to bring you another Chick Chat. And it is with my amazing childhood friend, Fern Kisbaugh out of Colorado. Hi, Fern. Thank you for coming on. This is so fun because her and I, we message back and forth, obviously. And what, maybe three times a year or so, 3 or 4 times a year, maybe we actually see each other in person. Mm-hmm. Whether I'm coming out there to visit family and friends, or whether she comes back to North Carolina. But it's so fun to actually get to see you on camera and feel like we can have those conversations that we do when we're sitting across the table drinking coffee together. Or having a glass of wine, or all those wonderful times that we have. Or sitting, our favorite time, I think, that you and I have together is when you come to North Carolina and we go to the beach.
Oh my gosh, yes. It's the best.
And we just sit with our toes in the sand, watching the waves, listening to the waves, and just talking about life. Mm-hmm. And it is very, very, it's an amazing time. I value the friendship that we have. And I know that you and I, as we have matured, have become very intentional about our friendship. Mm-hmm. I know for me, you have been a very safe place for me to land and just be able to discuss anything. And that's what I love about you is you are truly a no judgment zone. And there's just no subject that is taboo. And I don't have that with a lot of friends. I'm just going to tell you that right now.
Yeah, me too.
So I love us. I love what we have built together. And we've definitely had a lifetime of building this, which has been really fun. So I'm going to just share really quick with our listening audience. If this is a part 2, so if you want to kind of get filled in on a little bit more of the details of Fern's story, go back and listen to the prior broadcast that we had with her on Chick Chat, and you will get filled in on a little bit more of her story. But just to summarize very vaguely, is she was abused physically, mentally, and spiritually. Did I leave any other abuse out in that, Fern? Or does that pretty much cover it all?
It covers it.
She had huge family secrets that she was expected to maintain and hold from the world. And it just led to an extreme amount of chaos, confusion, trauma. And there's probably a whole nother string of words that you can add to that. But that's just kind of to catch you up to the second part of our discussion with Fern. So when we left off from her story last broadcast, what I could hear in my head people saying is, oh my gosh, I relate to you. I've been through that. Oh my gosh, I have all these family secrets that I can't talk about. And what I heard in my head people saying is, okay, I can relate, but how in the world did you start doing the work to overcome all of this stuff to become the healthy person you are today? And so I really want to talk to you about that and kind of dig into that piece with you, because I just hear people saying, where do I start? Like, where do I start to start doing this work and to start healing?
Yeah. Okay. Well, I want to say too that the feeling is mutual with you, Marie. You've definitely been a safe place for me. I mean, it's a beautiful thing when you have a friend or a couple friends where you can literally talk about anything and everything, and there is zero judgment, zero. There's just, yeah, I know. So it has been beautiful, and I'm very grateful. And that in itself is testament to healing, because my relationships were a mess pretty much in every category because I didn't know how to do them. But I think the most important thing, well, two things. I know when I hit that bottom, where it was the bottom, I was just like, I did have, even though it was very fractured too, my relationship, I had a relationship with God, and I just prayed in that desperation place and was like, I can't do this anymore. And I think when you get to that point where you really mean it, it opens up infinite possibilities, and answers come. And so I meant it with every ounce of my being. And we just kind of got led, because my husband engaged with the counseling too at that point. That's a whole nother story of why we're still married 31 years later, because it almost didn't happen a few times. But he decided to engage too. And so we just kind of got led to a counselor. We had a guy at the church we were going to at the time that we had counseled with. And when we went to him, when we had this huge hit bottom moment, he was just an amazing older gentleman. And he said, this is above my level but he said, I have somebody I want to recommend to you. And it was a lady who turns out her specialty was sexual addiction. I had never even heard of that term before, but we all tend to have some sort of addiction, whether it's just busyness or an actual substance or,
That's
and she was just amazing for us to work with. We both were all in, because I was like, it's do or die. I mean, I just can't do this anymore. And so that's my biggest recommendation, is when you really mean it, be there for what's going to come into your, I mean, we were looking too, but you talk to a couple of people, you usually find where you need to be, and find a counselor that helps you figure out what your area is that you need to work with. Because that was where I went to, and it wasn't even about the sex, it was about the relationship. We all want to be seen and heard and loved. And so you find ways to meet those needs. That part, the needs are valid, they're legit, but how we go about filling them gets a little
dicey.
A little dicey, yeah. Until we learn better.
Right. And that's just a very transparent, real statement.
Yes.
I think so many times, Fern, I mean, you're saying that, and I think, wow, so many times it's like we throw the baby out with the bathwater.
Right.
Because we go, they shouldn't be acting like that. They shouldn't be doing that.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, when we really should be asking, what is it that is making them feel the need to act out in this manner?
Right. So true. Yeah. I where I'm at now, it just hurts my heart when I see people, okay, this person's acting out, whether it's with substances or huge anger or whatever it is, and people just heap further pain on them by labeling them and shunning them and, all these things that we've all experienced. They just need somebody to come alongside and offer support. There's also the part too where you have to want that support. You have to want the change. So
it really is a double-edged sword, because
it is. Yeah.
you can, if you don't truly want it and to do the work that's going to surround it, it's really a waste of time and money. Would you agree with that?
I do agree with that. Absolutely. Yeah, because I've been in both of those camps, where I'm like, well, okay, I'm going to go work on this, but I wasn't all in.
So I guess getting to what made you finally become all in, I guess, is my question.
Okay. I was I was a mom. I had a 3-year-old and then a 9 and 12-year-old. And when I hit my bottom, I'd hit a few bottoms before that, but this was the bottom. And what I mean by that is I just couldn't do life in the way I'd been doing it. It didn't make sense to me. I didn't know why I kept finding myself in these same cycles. I'd been raised in the church. And so I had, a relationship with God, like I said. But there was just so much, I perpetuated a lot of chaos in my own life, and I didn't know how to stop that. I had some very good friends, and a few of those I still have, who have walked with me through this whole journey. And that's amazing. But I would tend to go in and out of friendships. Alan and I, my husband and I, almost divorced twice. I mean, it was just, I was so angry, and I didn't know how to not be that angry. Because it would always crop up. And when it started landing on my kids, I remember that some of those pivotal moments where I was like, oh my gosh, I have become the person that I have hated my whole life, which was my father, who had hurt me so much. And that was just my wake up call. It's like, this is not who I am. And I'm going to find a way to be who I am, who I really know I am. So yeah, it was just a culmination of all of those things. I look back and it was kind of a magical place in a way, because I could have, many times before I had just gone on,
Right.
Oh, well, we'll just figure it out, but not really.
Yeah.
Oh,
wow. We're going to have to take a short commercial break. I think it's really interesting how so many times God allows our kids to be the thing that mirrors ourselves back to ourselves, where we see, oh my God, I do not like the person I am.
Yes. Absolutely.
Yeah, I have had that. I have had that happen to me, girl. And it's like, oof, that's not good.
It's a gut punch for sure.
It is a gut punch. It is a gut punch, because you don't think that you're ever going to be that parent.
Right. Yeah.
You really don't.
You don't.
Oh my gosh. All right. So I can't wait to come back after the commercial break, because I have some more questions for you. Thank you so much for your transparency. You are amazing, because I know how much you have a heart to help others that have been through the same or similar situations that you have survived and lived in, and now you are thriving. Mm-hmm. So as we go to this commercial break, if you love the content, the realness that Chit Chat brings to your life, click on the donate button and donate to WYTV7, because it helps keep broadcasts such as this on the air. Any amount is appreciated, And we are here to share hope. We're here to share encouragement. We're here to tell you that you are not alone. So we will be right back after the commercial break.
80% of women will develop a pelvic health condition at some point in their lives. There is relief. There is hope. The Pelvic Floor Store, your resource for personal health.
Welcome back to the Healing Waters broadcast. We are live with our chit chat with Fern Kisbaugh out of Colorado. She is my childhood friend, lifelong friend. And you know what? We were talking prior to the commercial break that her and I have been through some stuff. We have some stories to tell, and we are definitely survivors of our stories, but more than surviving the story, and this is the part I love about us, Fern, is we have decided not to just survive. We have determined whatever it takes that we are going to thrive. And that is what we are talking about today. After everything that you have been through in your childhood, early adulthood, raising kids, all the stuff, you still get up every day and choose to do the work around it all so that you may thrive every day.
That's right.
And I love that about you. So I know we were talking right before the commercial break about how you had hit several rock bottoms, but your rock bottom was when you started seeing some of the traits of your abuser coming out towards your kids.
That's right. Yeah.
And it was a huge wake-up call because that was the person you said you would never be. Mm-hmm. And that's when you really got serious about seeking the help and doing the work. Yeah. So I know that everybody's different, but for you, how did you, because what I've always heard people say that when they go to counseling or therapy or whatever, when they first start this journey, it is so painful. Because you're having to go back and visit all those parts of you that you compartmentalized and you shut off and that you did not deal with just from a survival mode.
It's true. Yeah.
So how did you deal with that in the pain that came from starting to open those doors and work through that?
Yeah. I think it's important to know, because I didn't, for whatever reason, didn't know this, but sometimes you have to interview a couple counselors to see who's going to be a good fit for you. Mm-hmm. Your body, your gut, your intuition, whatever, will always tell you. You'll just kind of know one way or another. And so we had a wonderful, for me, when I had a counselor that I really could relate to and work with, it is terrifying because you're opening up a lot of stuff you really would rather not. But also the pain I was in was so huge. I was ready for any change. And so it was like, I just can't stay in this place anymore. So we're going to have to do something different. And the counselor that I started with all that work, she just really invited, she was very well trained and set a safety and a comfort level. And that is important, because there was a few others where I didn't feel that with, so find the right person, and then it gets a bit easier to dive in.
Right.
All of the unknown.
So was there, because I know with everything that you've been through, mm-hmm. On paper, emotionally, you probably would have hit a lot of the bullet points of being depressed, maybe even bipolar. Obviously, what am I trying to think of? Emotional disorder.
Right. Mm-hmm.
So you would have hit a lot of those bullet points purely because of all the stuff
Right.
that you had not dealt with. What at any point did you consider going on medication, or did you go on medication to try to even yourself out?
I did not. I think maybe there was a conversation had around it, and that it was a possibility, and I didn't end up doing that. I'm all for that. I have other family members who have, and it's been very helpful. But no, I just dove into when I decide to do something, I go in hook, line, and sinker. It's just, and that helps me find my way through.
Mhm.
And that's just how I am.
Mhm.
I'm reading, I'm meditating, praying, I'm talking, to people about it. I'm just very determined.
Right. So you're constantly processing.
Yes, pretty much. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's hard for me to not, because it's like, okay, this is the most important thing,
Mhm.
So, yeah.
So you would whatever was the situation at the time that you were talking through, you would process that thing
Mm-hmm.
until you would go back and do the next layer.
Yes. And I didn't know particularly about how all those layers, what that would look like at the time, which is great. It would be overwhelming, but starting out with counseling, and then that led into doing a small group with 4 other women who had she had other clients who had the same type of wounding.
Mhm.
So we went through a book and a workbook study where we met. It was supposed to be for 6 weeks and it turned into 8 months.
Oh, wow.
But that was where so many light bulbs went on for me as to understanding those cycles I was in. For me, I want the logic I need that logic piece. Why is this happening? And then it helps me reconcile with it, and helps with the healing process. So there was just so much of that in that group. And then that group ended and we actually moved on to working with a different counselor, who we're still touch base with every now and again. And I love that, 14 years later, still having that person there. And but there was just different, I did a Bible study that I was done with Bible studies, frankly, because, this was. But this one was a 29-week Bible study, and it was a lady here in Colorado Springs who had been through a lot of trauma, some similar to mine. And she wrote and put together, it's now worldwide. I mean, it's all over the world. It's called Healing Journey, but it gives you worksheets for painful emotions and what to do with those, how to even, if you're a faith person, how to even approach God, with that, and work through it step by step, like naming the emotions. And then there's just a whole process.
Wow.
So that was super helpful because I was married and a mom. So
Yeah.
marriage comes with challenges, and parenting comes with a lot of challenges. And
all the different personalities to combine.
Yes. And so that, so then I went through that and was a part of that organization as a leader, small group leader, for about 9 years. But then when I processed through that, then I learned about healing prayer, and it was just each layer in the work got deeper and cleaned out more and rebuilt and redeemed more. And so that's what I mean. You can kind of once you get into experiencing healing, it's like you don't ever want to go back because the rewards are so huge. The peace that you start to experience, and the just the calm that descended with all that. The chaos started to clear out because I was understanding and being intentional with all of that, you know.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. That's beautiful, because I think you're so good with describing it, because you gave a very, I could picture that whole thing almost like a spring cleaning, that's just
Yeah.
going on, and you're getting in there to all the little cracks and crevices that maybe you didn't even know existed.
Right.
But that when that is exposed and expelled,
Mhm.
all the chaos is gone.
Yeah. Yep.
And there's nothing left but peace.
I had one of the healing prayer modalities there's a lot of different kinds, and each one has their specialty. And one of them that I was trained in, I remember the guy saying that all the junk in our life, it's like trash. And if you are working with, some of the demonic influence or whatever, he likens us to rats. And he goes, a lot of people just want to get the rats out of there, but if the trash is still there, the rats come back. So I love that analogy.
So good.
Because you got to take the trash out, and then the rats aren't an issue anymore.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, I love that.
I know.
That definitely gives a word picture to what you're trying to do.
Yes. Yep.
Oh my gosh. So, I mean, what I keep hearing you say is that you've had to just be diligent, just consistency and diligence at every step of the journey.
Yes, but it wasn't even that hard of a choice once I got into it, because it was so life-giving.
Wow.
Like I could feel my life being given back to me, or that I was able to step into my own power. I mean, we all are sovereign beings, and when that's been stripped away from you, it's just there's lots of ways back to that.
Yeah.
Whether you're a person in a church or not, or have a faith, there's lots of ways back to yourself.
Right.
I've learned.
I love that. And I love that in all the different things that you've gotten so much help with, that you have gotten training in a lot of that, so that you can pass on and help others with the same type of thing. And I just applaud you for doing that, because it just speaks so much to your heart of helping others get through trauma and learn how to healthily deal with trauma, so that you can survive. And I mean, not just survive, but thrive.
Yes.
And so I love that. I know, goodness gracious, I could literally sit here and talk to you for two more days. But I know our time is coming to a close. So what things have you, and I know you're still in the process of some, but what things do you offer at this point that you have gotten either certified in or training in, that you are helping other people with?
There's the healing prayer.
Mm-hmm.
And another really cool thing that I am in process of being certified in, almost to the end of that, is the 9 energies, the body of 9. Just understanding yourself can bring why you talk or don't talk, make eye contact or don't make, just all the physical things that we do, but then the way we think and the way we move in this world, why you are like you are, it can bring so much just clarity and understanding. So that is another piece. And then I do past life regression, and that is another just huge healing tool for people that's just amazing. So
Oh my gosh, that is absolutely awesome. So can you tell us where we can connect with you? If someone would like to reach out and say, you know what, can we have more conversation around this? Where can they reach you at?
Absolutely. Probably my email would be a great place. And that is Fernella, my name, Fernella 331 @gmail.com.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. Goodness gracious, thank you so, so much for your transparency to just open up and talk about the hard stuff that so many people feel like they're so alone in, because that's what I see so much is when someone like you opens up and shares your story, all of a sudden people feel freed to come to the surface and go, oh my gosh, I've been through that too. When they thought it was this big secret.
Right.
So I know that you and I are big about dispelling the family secrets, dispelling all the stuff, because that's where healing comes in, is when that is dispelled. So thank you all so much. If you would like to connect with me, I am Marie Kennedy Groves on Facebook. I am World Changer Forever on Instagram. Or you can connect with me through email at mariegroves@healingwaters.info. Thank you all so much for joining us on this Chick Chat. I remind you, go back and watch last week's broadcast because this was part 2. So go back and watch segment 1 to get the full story. And we are so happy that you joined us. And remember, you have not been created just to survive, but you, my friend, have been created to thrive. And let's do that together. Have a great week. Talk to you later.